This is Al Alborn, the Virginia Trout Bum, sitting here by Jeremy's Run, maybe about 2 miles down, and I thought I'd share another trout bum tip of the day. I'm into bushcraft. Bushcraft is basically the survival skills. When I'm traveling in the backcountry, I'm usually alone, and I'm usually well prepared. I've got a pack with enough stuff to last for a couple days and even make it through a cold night if I had to. But the premise of bushcraft is, if you lose everything else you have, all you really need to get through is a knife, a way to keep it sharp, and a way to start a fire. These 3 things, and you can find everything else you need in the woods. Now let's start with the knife. Bushcraft, any knife will do in a pinch, but a bushcraft knife tends to have a couple of special characteristics. Number 1, it's thicker than a regular knife in the blade, and number 2, it tends to have a full, thick tang, and you'll recognize a full tang if the handle is attached to each side of it, as opposed to the handle being buried inside, or the tang being buried inside a handle. Needs to be easy to handle and heavy enough to do anything you might need to do to survive. The reason heavy is important, you might be chopping firewood, cutting wood for shelter or kindling, filleting a trout if you really had to survive a while. One good heavy-duty all-purpose knife. You need something to keep it sharp. There's nothing more dangerous than a dull knife. I personally prefer my Arkansas whetstone, which I store in a recycled Gerber multi-tool case on my knife. And you need a way to start a fire. In my case, I use a fire stick to basically light my fire. This is the military grade model. And if you need to start a fire, use your knife. You can start a fire with that. Now, bushcraft is really about knowing how to use this stuff, like tinder that a fire stick will start, how to use a knife without hurting yourself. It's a pretty complete science when you get into it. And one of my hobbies is studying new ways to find what I need in the woods. Now, the essence of bushcraft is it's good to have all 3 of these things together, because if I lost everything else I packed and all I had to survive was my knife, a way to keep it sharp, and a way to start a fire, I've got all 3 of them on my belt, and I could last in the woods indefinitely. By the way, this is the bench-made Bushcrafter knife. I recommend it highly. It's a serious piece of equipment. And that's it. I think I'm going to brew a little coffee now. So this is Al Alborn, the Virginia Trout Bum, with his trout tip of the day. That's a wrap.